you very much. That is Simon here. We are always
Here.
Mr. Chair, we don't understand why opening governments is so myopic about the fact that the only way for you to break hegemony is to control the evolution of the smaller and weaker languages, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that status quo is working through education, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even think that the Filipino language, that the Tagalog language, ladies and gentlemen, dialect, ladies and gentlemen, is superior over the Cebuano. Because if you go to Mindanao, Visayas, and the other parts of the Philippines, Cebuano is even widely used, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to prove that on the ground, the mechanisms imposed by the government, ladies and gentlemen, so as to make individual cultures respect the dialects of individual societies, ladies and gentlemen, is working, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to control the evolution of languages, ladies and gentlemen, because what will I talk in this particular debate? First, I will talk to you about the real dynamics of governance, ladies and gentlemen. What happens on the ground when you govern evolution, ladies and gentlemen. Second, we'll talk about why languages evolve in the very first place, ladies and gentlemen. This is necessary for us to understand why we have to have this control, why we have to have this freedom, and what we have. And lastly, let's talk about the possibilities of having ungoverned evolution, ladies and gentlemen. Later, I'll take points. First, let's talk about the dynamic of governments. Calvin is already very clear. When you govern, ladies and gentlemen, your goal is to impose order, your goal is to impose direction, ladies and gentlemen. Why is this counterintuitive to the value of evolution? Because we think, ladies and gentlemen, we're first level, languages evolve to adapt to the ever-changing cultures of people, ladies and gentlemen. What does this mean? We try to change our languages so that people around us would understand us, ladies and gentlemen. What happens now if you create a standard, ladies and gentlemen, that you have this specific restriction, that you cannot evolve to that much, ladies and gentlemen, that you cannot go to this direction of change because we have this imposition coming from the governing body, ladies and gentlemen. Necessary when you examine it on the ground, you restrict people from developing to the kind of change that is tailor-fitted, ladies and gentlemen, to the kind of change that they want to experience in society, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you talk about dynamics of governance, ladies and gentlemen, it is already stated by Paulo and later. It is already stated by Paulo in his speeches, ladies and gentlemen, that when you have a certain government, there is facilitation and regulation, ladies and gentlemen. Clearly, if you examine what happened before the very first time that we imposed that we should have a national language, ladies and gentlemen, let's examine the scenario before these existed, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it that after the imposition of the Tagalog language, ladies and gentlemen, being our national language, that little languages started to feel oppressed, ladies and gentlemen? Later on, because of society's desire, ladies and gentlemen, to counter this hegemony, ladies and gentlemen, through education, through discussions, and what we have, this hegemony has been slowly broken down, ladies and gentlemen. And today, we experience that different languages has been appreciated, ladies and gentlemen, not just Tagalog, not just Cebuano, but also Ilocos, and what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Later. Now, let's talk about the meat of my contribution in this debate. Let's talk about the possibilities of ungoverned evolution. Fine, we could see it to some point when you allow certain languages to just evolve on its own. Certainly, some languages may die, ladies and gentlemen. We don't think that entirely this is a good thing. But because of the fact that languages die, ladies and gentlemen, and that languages are there to facilitate communication between people and communities, ladies and gentlemen, there is an underlying statement that languages die because they're no longer needed, ladies and gentlemen. But we don't think that they are not important. This is the reason why we can immortalize languages through films, through books, through whatever, ladies and gentlemen. In the same way that we immortalize the Aztecs and what we have you through history books and through museums, ladies and gentlemen. If we value languages in that specific level, ladies and gentlemen, we can still give that to you before I proceed everyone.
Ara, in your model, if you're going to intimately empower these communities, you're only going to create a greater gap between them. How does your proposition necessarily bridge that gap? Because up till now, you're unresponsive.
Ladies and gentlemen, the gap that they have been forwarding this debate is not really existent. Because if you examine it, ladies and gentlemen, the more that you give direction to the specific languages, the more that you break that specific group and organization that needed that change, ladies and gentlemen, in lieu to their own direction, ladies and gentlemen. Because let's examine what are the different kinds of languages apart from the national languages that we have. We also have K language, also have pirate language, and what we have. These languages actually represent what that individual group and community wants, ladies and gentlemen. In what way they want to communicate and what we have. If you have international bodies, if you have national bodies, dictating them, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the kind of evolution evolution that you should have, ladies and gentlemen, necessarily you dictate them of the things that they want to do. It defeats the purpose of a language, ladies and gentlemen, which then again is very clear from common speech. Languages are there to make people understand themselves. Languages are there to reflect cultures, ladies and gentlemen. Cultures do not follow languages, and cultures do not follow languages, ladies and gentlemen. Languages evolve after the culture has already evolved, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the good thing in my second level of my contribution. And this is the good thing when languages do not die. That's the worst case scenario. What is the best case scenario? When we allow languages to evolve naturally, ladies and gentlemen, they will be able to be tailor-fitted to the needs of the individuals on the ground, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I can create my own word. And if people around me and in my community, these people think that my word is cool, that my word is understandable, then automatically everyone in the community can adopt it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to be afraid that that word may be not allowed through the regulations of the government. This might be simplistic, ladies and gentlemen, but if you examine it on the ground, that will happen if you have governance, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not mischaracterize what governing means, ladies and gentlemen, because when you have a governing body, ladies and gentlemen, then again, let this be our battleground. When you have a governing body, necessarily you try to impose regulations, directions, and what you have in our line, ladies and gentlemen, direction may be good to some extent. But if you talk about languages, if you talk about evolution of languages primarily, ladies and gentlemen, and how the evolution of languages is clearly dependent to the change in the culture, ladies and gentlemen, we don't think that direction is good. Allow the people on the ground to determine their own direction, ladies and gentlemen. Don't have a governing body that tells them which direction to take, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, this is counterintuitive to the value